Hello, it's the Recap Shark here. Today I'm going to explain a crime thriller called 4x4. Spoilers ahead, beware. The movie starts with a man named Ciro walking through a neighborhood in Buenos Aires. Ciro is a thug, and when he notices a car he is interested in, he gets into it. He enters the car and steals the stereo in the overhead compartment. Ciro finds a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses and puts them in his pocket. He is still not satisfied, so he urinates all over the back seat and squeezes his butt hard to fart. Finally, he feels his job is done and proceeds to leave. But there's a dilemma. The door won't open. He tries 3 other doors, but none of them open, and he then realizes he's trapped. He tries to get the trunk of the car to open and begins to panic and desperately tries to break the car window, but fails miserably. However, the thug refuses to give up and dismantles the inside of the car door. He then reaches inside the door and tries to open it, but hurts himself badly and starts bleeding. The car door does not open after all the attempts. Ciro pulls out his pistol and shoots the front window, but the bullet ricochets and plummets into one of his thighs. Ciro screams in extreme pain, bleeding deeply. He then takes off his shirt and wraps it around the wound. So far, Ciro has avoided being seen, but after shooting himself in the thigh, he tries to get the attention of someone outside to help him get out of the car, even if it means going to jail. Luckily, a woman appears outside the car and starts fixing her makeup using the car window. Ciro tries to ask her for help, but it seems that the woman outside the car can't see Ciro inside. Ciro tries to call his wife, but before the call can go through, the phone battery dies. Several hours pass and Ciro falls asleep. The next day, he wakes up very thirsty. He has run out of water and is forced to lick the window out of desperation. Later, he takes the stereo out of his bag and puts it on to listen to the radio. As he repeatedly bangs on the door with a tool, a phone starts ringing. It's the car stereo. Ciro answers the call, and a man speaks from the other end. The man introduces himself as Dr. Enrique Ferrari and welcomes Ciro into the car. Enrique goes on to say that he is the owner of the SUV and that he has been robbed 28 times in his life. He adds that Ciro is the 29th thief who has tried to rob him. This infuriates Ciro, and he demands that he releases him. But Enrique tells him to shut up and listen. Enrique goes on to say that he rigged his 4x4 car with an alarm connected to his phone, so Enrique can lock all the car doors. The windows are all bulletproof, soundproof, and tinted. The only thing that is not bulletproof is the fuel tank, which holds 120 liters of fuel. Enrique warns him that the full gas tank is a potential bomb, and if he tries anything, the car will explode along with him. Enrique goes on to say that he is a 60-year-old widower, and his life today is in such a bad state right now, and he misses his childhood. Enrique continues to talk, but Ciro is fed up and threatens to report Enrique to the police. He orders Enrique to release him so that he can kill him and his entire family. However, before he can finish, the phone hangs up. Then, Enrique turns on the air conditioner and turns it to the lowest temperature to torture the thief. Ciro tries to turn off the air conditioner but is unable to. With no other choice, Ciro removes his shirt from the wound and puts it on. To stop his thigh from bleeding, he tears a part of his jeans and wraps it around his wound. After torturing the thief for quite a while, our Enrique calls him back and asks him again what he will do if he catches his son stealing. He tells him that he will give him water if he answers the question correctly. Ciro answers this question, but does not satisfy Enrique. Ciro begs him to stop doing this, telling him that he has learned his lesson. A police car pulls up in front of his SUV. Ciro is once again filled with hope and tries to get the cop's attention, but the cop tickets the SUV and drives off. Several hours later, Enrique calls back and asks Ciro for his full name and ID number in exchange for water. After Ciro agrees, Enrique guides him to the water in the hose from the laundry room in the back. The water is a light blue color, but dehydrated Ciro doesn't mind and guzzles the water, breathing a sigh of relief. However, Ciro is still hungry and without food, so he is almost forced to eat an insect that has somehow snuck into the car. Later, Ciro checks his wound and realizes that it is turning yellow, and he also has a fever. Enrique decides to give him a break and turns on the air conditioner to cool him down and reveals to him that he is also sick. Enrique is dying of cancer, and the doctors have told him he has 1 year to live. As Enrique continues to chatter, Ciro takes off his clothes and faints. Ciro's body has also turned yellow. Later, Ciro checks the car manual for a way to escape, but ends up eating a page out of sheer desperation and frustration. Ciro is really at his lowest point, and urinates into a cup and drinks his own urine to quench his thirst. Suddenly, things look good for Ciro when a thief tries to break into the SUV, which gives him hope. However, the thief is discovered by passers-by and is beaten up and handed over to the police. Soon, night falls. Dehydration and hunger are at its peak. He observes how a small percentage of people have so many things that it is necessary to distribute them so that everyone can enjoy them. He further adds that the world is full of poor people with laws made by rich people for rich people. Ciro states that he will not obey them, even if they shoot him dead. He reveals that this is why he became a thief like his father and grandfather. The next day, Enrique calls him again and reads him the newspaper. Enrique tells him that he is in a good mood and guides him to a chocolate bar hidden behind the brakes. After spending the whole day resting and observing the people in the neighborhood, Ciro returns to repeatedly banging on one of the doors that he has managed to dismantle down to its metal part from the inside. Finally, he manages to create a small hole in the door that opens to the outside. He shouts through the small hole to attract someone's attention, but is unsuccessful. Later, Enrique calls and reveals that he has contacted Ciro's family. Upon hearing his family's name, Ciro bursts into tears and warns Enrique not to hurt them. He then asks him in tears what he has done to him to deserve this. However, Enrique doesn't hold back and pulls out Ciro's criminal record and reveals that Ciro has killed a person before. A tearful Ciro denies killing anyone. Enrique continues to reveal that Ciro broke into the Salerno brothers' house to rob them, but they tried to defend themselves and Ciro shot them with his gun. Enrique also brings up an old bus driver that Ciro beat up badly. However, Ciro still refuses to take responsibility and blames the driver for not letting him rob the passengers. He says he made mistakes and has already paid for them. Later, Ciro charges his phone with solar power and calls his wife, but the call goes straight to voicemail. On the voicemail, he confesses everything to his wife and apologizes for screwing up again. After crying his eyes out, Ciro fiddles with the car's starter button and manages to start the car. Apparently, it can only be started without a key after pressing it a certain number of times. He puts on his seatbelt and puts the car in reverse. However, the gear gets stuck in reverse mode and he is forced to drive in reverse. He accelerates the car and crashes it into a pole to get people's attention. Fortunately, the airbag activates in time and he suffers no injuries. The injured Ciro finally manages to knock out the weakened rear window and escape. He is in a lot of pain, but manages to crawl to a nearby gas station where he helps himself to some food while savoring every bite. The restaurant manager orders him to pay for the meal and leave immediately. This infuriates Ciro and he shoots the manager. Ciro then wakes up from his dream and realizes that he was dreaming and is still trapped in the car. Enrique calls back and Ciro threatens to kill himself. He puts the gun to his mouth and pulls the trigger, but the gun jams. Enrique laughs at the thief's misery and asks him to look in front of the car. Enrique climbs into the car with him. Ciro is very fatigued and has no strength to escape. Enrique tends to Ciro's wound and then gets distracted on a work call. While Ciro seems to fall asleep, he tries unsuccessfully to shoot the deranged doctor and jumps out of the car. He finally gets out and fires a shot into the air to call for help. However, Enrique approaches him again and tries to drag him to the SUV. A policewoman spots the two and orders the doctor to drop the gun. The media and police have surrounded the area, but Enrique refuses to let Ciro go, saying he is the robber's victim. When all else fails, the police call retired negotiator Julio Amadeo, who asks the doctor what he wants. Enrique then lists a series of problems he faces every day that the government does nothing about. Enrique says that as he heads to his office, he has to avoid 2,000 dog poops in the street, because dog owners don't clean up after their pets when no one is looking. The audience stands in solidarity with Enrique and cheers him on. Julio refuses to give up and keeps talking to Enrique and finally convinces him to let Ciro go. The police stop Ciro, and Julio asks Enrique to surrender, but Enrique gets into his car after placing a timer on top. Julio suspects it is a bomb and orders everyone to back up. The SUV explodes, killing Enrique, but not before lighting a fire in the hearts of all the commoners. And that's how the movie ends. Subscribe to see more videos like this one, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel.